created was the mask you created was actually a family, an RFA, right? So you did it in the Revit environment, the family environment, or they call it the massing environment. And so this is my file right here, the RFA, and this is probably not the one I want. But I'm just going to bring it in here from the desktop. So if you're working with it, you may bring it in. Well, let me just open it. So I'm gonna just click on it, open it, and bring it in that way. So you can insert it just like you insert. Actually, that's 17, huh? Okay, it's definitely not the one I'm looking for. All right. Yeah, I even got the wrong name for it. So you may have something similar to that. You'll have different massings. Um, so you can actually punch it into a project. So I'm gonna start a new project. So you'll go new project. So your final project, you're gonna use the commercial template. So commercial template, right? Open. Okay. You may want to move some things like the presentations you did, the presentation uh, views that you created in the Carlisle. You want to probably save those as view templates and import the view templates in here, right? Just to go over that again, I'm going off track here, but that's okay. Before somebody asks me, I'm looking for my. Assuming I can find the file first. Okay, here's my Carlisle. So maybe what you'll want to do, even though this is a residential project, it's probably easier to do this. Let's see if I have any view templates. All right, remember view templates, everybody? Remember I had the JWB. So these are some of my design presentation view templates. Remember how I showed you how to form these? You form those in your Carlisle? Yes. Okay. So you may not have saved it, but you have the views. So you'll probably want to save them as view templates. You can move them to a new file. So if I go to back to this project one, which now I will save save as my desktop, my final project, your name, final project. Set this for only three backup files, please, and save it. So you'll be able to, if you go to Manage, and you go to, if you go to Transfer Project Standards, it'll list your Carlisle file, and you'll be able to check off those things you want to move over. So for example, you may want to move over, you're not going to want to move walls because this is a totally different type of construction. But you will want to use the view templates. Here are the view templates right here. Pick that. Um, Anything else that you may have? Maybe you have some line weights, line styles, line patterns that you're using. Um, Anything that you've modified and are in that other, you can bring over here. You just say OK. And I will overwrite. Obviously, there's something a little different about my view templates here. I'm going to just go ahead and overwrite them. Okay. So you're gonna bring in that massing. So I go back to the residential massing, and you can load it into project. I'm gonna load it into your name. This is not the one I think it's supposed to be, but we'll go with it. And it'll come in as a family, so I'll be able to manipulate it, move it. Actually, it looks way too small, so this is definitely the wrong one, I think. All right, so I'm gonna place it here, but I can still look at it. So now I have a massing in here, so you can look at it. I only want one. I'm sorry. I went to my 3D just to look at it. I put shading on it if I want. Um, the thing about once it's in the environment, once it's in Revit itself, um, it will. You can turn it on and off easily by going to massing, and you can go show massing forms and floors, and it'll be on. If you do that, it's off. And you'll notice in a lot of the views, if you go to a particular view, uh, you go to a particular view and you go visibility graphics, most of the time it'll turn itself off. So it'll be unchecked. If you check it, it'll be back on. So you can keep it around for a little while. So I'm going to do it on this side. I'm going to do the structural grid on this side. Um, you did add a grid, a level datum, right? If you added a level datum, you could have added them on the family itself. So if I go back to the family, this right here, this actually has. I copied two. Actually, it only comes with one. You can add different level datums for that. Yes, actually it does. It will, but it'll ask you. You'll get an opportunity to look at it. Oh, you had 7 levels? Mm. High rise. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go back here to my final project here. And I don't know if it's complete or not. I'm just going to use this mass. If you watch the video, you know that you can look at it in 3D, and you can actually add the floors. If I touch the mass, let's do this. And massing floors. You can add the floors, and this is where it shows you the levels. So actually, this is the massing from this file. So I guess it doesn't move over. The height of the thing is still the same though. This is from this file. So right, it's not from the family. So I have level 1 here. I didn't add a level 2, and I have a roof. So whatever I do here, I've got to go ahead and add. So I'm going to add another datum here. So I got, I think I told you 10 feet, right, for one? Or did I say? I didn't say. Yeah, that sounds like me. Okay. I'm going to call that level 2. Yes, I'm going to change that. And so I'm got view over here, copy, and I'm going to copy this up 10 feet. I'm assuming that's what I did, or you did something very similar to this. You did what you did, and I say roof. All right. So I've got 3 levels. So now if I go back to the 3D view, look at the 3D view, and I ask for the massing of the floors. I say floor. Actually, I don't want to create the floor yet. If I pick the model, I can add the massing of the floor. This is part of the. All right. Once I show you, you'll see. And let's say that. I think most of you have done this, right? So this is part of the massing, these floors. I can actually add the floor um, to the massing by just simply picking the massing. So if I say model by face, it says create floors right here, and I can actually just touch the floor. So if it's a 4-inch concrete slab, I just pick 4-inch concrete slab and I pick the floor, and it will create a 4-inch concrete flat slab for me. And then, yeah, you touch it, and then you say create floor. You select it first. So select multiples. You're actually going to select it before. So if I wanted multiples, I'd just pick all three. I wonder what I had in mind here. I did this one early, and I don't remember what I had in mind here, but that's what I got. Um, but if I select this one here, I can add a floor here. So you're going from conceptual mass to adding floors to it. The other thing you can do is you can add the walls, which is something unfair about it, right? Try not to use generic. Uh, yeah, you could pick generic. Actually, that's just my little twist. I picking generic. Actually, really isn't. Yeah, I like to kind of look at. I've already got a material in mind, so yeah, I want to see it right away. But um, in this class, usually what I try to encourage everybody to stay away from generic, right? So I'm gonna pick the face of this wall, and so it just adds the material. So you just go around and you basically putting your building together. This is definitely not the one I had. Whoops! I put a wall on a roof. You can do that. So you guys get the idea. I'm sorry. I just picked EIFS. I'm looking for something with EIFS and curtain wall. EIFS being insulated stucco, basically. Insulated exterior insulated finish system, right? And so again, if I say wall, I can add wall. So, whoops, got yeah. Probably a good thing to put the roof on first because then you won't accidentally make the floor wall of the roof. And it kind of do that, and you'll come back and you'll adjust that later. So isn't that terrific? So you can basically outline, conceptualize the your massing of the building, and just add walls to it. All right, so the next move for me, and maybe you, should be you, might be to put the grid in. Yeah, I don't know what this is. This isn't what I thought it was. All right, so structural grid. Everybody know what structural grid is? No, yes, yes. It's actually, buildings are laid out on a grid typically, structurally speaking. I'm gonna Google steel framing because that's kind of what I thought we'd kind of start with. I don't know why Chrome's not working. Jan, did you break it? All right. There's that guy again. Steel frame. Steel. All right. So everybody's seen this. Everybody knows. Everybody's driven by this, right? So this is structural framing. So this is like these are I beams. These are I beams as well. So this is all I beams. Um, what I kind of think we will have is we'll have something with trusses and joists. Truss and joists. Here's framing with joists. Nope, nope, framing with beams. Well, I don't have good pictures. All right, so I won't go hunt too long. All right, but anyway, so typically steel, it can be up to 20, 25 feet, right? Could actually be longer than that. It could be 30. You would have a truss, which is a bigger. I know you've seen all these. You'd have a deeper beam. You'd have a deeper truss, right? So for this building, and what you're going to do is start with structural. You're going to actually you're going to start. You could do the grid here, or you can do it on an architecture grid. Sorry about that. I'm using architectural grid. Um, not sure there's a difference. Shows up. The structural grid is actually a model line. So it's going to show up in all your plan views, unless you turn it on. It is also a reference plane. It's also a work plane. See work plane here? So it's just kind of the same thing as a reference plane. So we have grid 1 here. And grid 1 is your first grid usually is some dimension off the face of the building, and that's usually going to be somewhere on the order of 1 foot, 1 foot 4. It can vary. It can be as much as 2 foot 6. Something on that order. So I'm going to dimension this from the exterior face of the wall to that, and I didn't eyeball that too good. I'm just going to move this over. Okay, so that'd be, and then you would have multiple grids. How did I get it? Oh, okay. I went to architecture, and I went to grid over here under datum. It's also on structure, and I started to go here first. I don't think it makes a difference, but go under architecture. It may filter. There actually may be. Let me see. No, I don't see a filter. I don't see. Um, there's probably no difference between the two. They like changing stuff like that on me, but I don't see a difference. But I'm gonna copy the next one over 20 feet. I can array these as well. Yeah, this is definitely not what I thought it was. Okay, array works this way. I'm gonna array it and then I'm gonna ungroup it. It's a group. Array is the same thing as a group, except it's a certain rhythm. So if I start with this grid and I say array right here, that's this command right here, and I pick this and I go out here 20 feet. So every 20 feet it's going to pick the same item. I must have goofed. I'll tell you what that is in a second. And I'm going to come out here in 20 feet. Something wrong with my massing. This is not the massing I thought it was. So 20 feet. So there's the grid right here. Yes, it is. It's okay. So notice this number down here, 2. Let's say I'm going to have 6 grids. I don't think, or 4 grids. I'm going to actually say 4. And what Revit does It's sort of like an array in AutoCAD, right? Everybody's done an array. The AutoCAD user, where are my AutoCAD users, right? You done arrays? Yeah, arrays are wonderful. Yeah, I'm off. Something's wacky about this mass. But anyway, I've created 4 grids. Revit has counted them all 1, 2, 3, 4. And when I close them, now I can always add more. So this always stays active. It's basically a group. So if I wanted 10, I could just type 10. So it goes way out here. See that? We're going to stick with 4. All right, so that's 1. And then I have my horizontal grids. All right. Notice Revit says 11 because it knows I have gone up to 10, but so I've got 11 here. But I don't want these grids are numerical. These grids are alphabetical, right? So I'm going to call this A. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm on a 20-foot grid array. Now, if you've done something that's unusually different, I think Aaron called it, can he go crazy? If you go crazy, you still have to figure out how to support it structurally. So you still have to have a structural member that makes sense on how to frame it. So sometimes 20 feet is not 20 feet. So if I wanted this to fit within this, I would have to move it inside here. And I can show you how to do that in a minute. But I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do an array here. I personally like to just simply copy them. But, you know, they work either way. So if I array this, 20, let's say I want 4 of these, or 3 of these. Actually, it looks like 3 is good. And there's maybe a fourth one. Hmm? They're fixed if you do it as an array. As an array. So let's say that this doesn't work for you. So what you can do is you can ungroup the array. So these are all acting together. And so they're group. Everybody remember group? Right? Model group, detail group. You group them together. It's sort of like creating a block, or an AutoCAD reference there, or creating something that relates to each other. I think I maybe showed you with 2 windows, right? Where I grouped 2 windows. So this is a group. So you can always take a group and you can edit a group. Now to edit it, I could actually couple things I could change. If I edit the group, I can change what this is. I can change the number or whatever, and then I can finish it. And still, if I finish it, still remains the group. But if I want to just totally depart from the group, like D, I want D to be up here, I'm just going to go ahead and ungroup it. Say ungroup right here. And right now, all those are as if I had copied them. Actually, you're still part of the group. But this one, I can actually move. So let's say I have 1 column here. And one of the other binding things about groups is like the length of this grid is always this length. So if I say edit and I touch this and I pull it down, all the rest of them are going to change with it. So basically, this is a copy of the first one. It's basically a copy of the first one. And so whatever I do to modify something in a group, it's going to be reflected here. The only difference is that with the grid, it actually keeps track of the numbers, and the numbers are different. All right, so that's my my grid. Later on, you're going to put a column on it. So in this case, instead of using a W section, we're going to use a pipe column. So I don't think there should be one loaded in here. I thought. I think that's actually an architectural column. Nope. Okay, so not on the commercial template. I'm confusing myself with the other template. All right. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'll have to go to the Imperial Library. Good, good. So if I say column and I say um, architectural column and I go load family and I go down here to structural framing. Did they have a structural column? They reorganize this every version just to keep. All right, so if I go to steel and if I want to see what these look like, I go thumbnails, and there are pipe columns. So this is a pipe column. You could use steel as well. They call that HSS. That's this right here, high strength structural hollow thing. So I'm actually load one of these and one of these. I can only load one because what's going to do next, it's going to show me the different sizes. I'm going to load a 6-inch pipe in here. That's pipe 6 standard. So I'm going to load that in there. Cannot load the following. It just tells me that it probably is a structural column. I don't know why they do that to me. Yeah. No, it just means that they've set this up so when you load families, it's supposed to be in a category, and I don't know, they haven't finished it. This has been a problem since one of the very early versions, but it's gotten progressively worse. uh, yeah, yeah, they may that slight distinction might be a reason why they're not going to let you load it that way. So, so what did I pick before? I picked structural. Did I pick architectural? Help me, help. No, which one of the? I'm gonna pick structural column because I know it's a column. So I'm gonna say load, and I'm gonna go to structural. Okay, it says structural column, so I use structural, right? Steel, and I'm gonna pick a pipe. I'm gonna pick a 6-inch pipe. So I would have had to be. There's something about this family that told Revit that yeah. See it loaded. So it's just a very subtle thing. It just doesn't let you load families from the category, and I don't get why they do that. That's my commentary on that. Um, if for some reason it frustrates you, just open the Imperial Library and just drag and drop what you want into here. Actually, it's a good idea to drag and drop multiple. That way you can drag and drop 3 or 4 different things at the same time. So yeah, I don't know why it does that, but I'm gonna put one of these columns at every intersection here. Here are some tools here. I could say at grids, and I haven't used this in a while. So finish, and you know, bet you. Let's see, they did it's in the same place. This result in a double counting. Yeah, that's fine. Um, I'm just making sure that I got my structural column showing. Yep. Well, this is where my laziness breaks down. Actually, it must be a column there. Yep, there's a column there too. So that means it's off. Or let's look. Maybe I'm doing something else wrong. Yep, doing something else. See, I'm doing something else wrong. I know what it is too. So you might have this happen to you. So pay attention. um, I've got this place. It's placing it at the top of footing instead of like at the first floor. I'm expecting it to place itself at level one, and I should not. Top level should be, let's say, roof, and then this should be level one. I have more than one column, so I'm going to delete that column. I think I'm deleting the column. Yeah, it will work off the reference plane that you're working on. So maybe I don't want this to go up to the roof. Maybe I want this to go to the second level, so it makes it shorter. So if I have a 3D view, one idea is you may want to duplicate the view and turn everything but structural off. So I could go here and say all, and then uncheck these, and then come down to structural, pick structurals. None. I'm turning on all the structural, but nothing else. Massing seems to work. so I could hide the massing here. The massing may actually be off. Hold on. See, it's off here. I shouldn't see it, right? So I got to turn it off here. They fiddle with this too much. So I have to turn it off here. But if I have a floor, maybe I want to see the floor too. And it's architectural floor. It's not a structural floor because otherwise it wouldn't show up. All right, so this is why I'm going to ungroup these because this just irritates me. That's all. But it may not irritate you. You may want to do it that way. Um, Same thing with columns. You can array them, or you can just copy them around. I just copy them around. And when you copy, actually, you can copy them. Yeah, I'm gonna ungroup these. When you copy them around, you can actually copy them multiple. Like this grid may have a subgrid. I always try to avoid subgrids. Okay, I'll tell you in a second. Sometimes you have a column here, you have a grid here. That means you have another grid. You actually have a grid here that's between B and C, and that might be B10, grid B10. You may just have a subgrid there. All right, so that's kind of a rough idea about framing and getting the grid on your plan. Let's talk about walls. Hmm? Oh, absolutely. Okay. I was. All right. All right. So the secret there is you're going to find a beam. You may not even know what size you're going to pick, right? Structural beam. I can give you some rule of thumb, but here's beam right here under structural. And the one that's loaded is a W12 by 26. W12 means it's 12 inches deep. 26 means it's 26 pounds per linear foot, which probably has not that much meaning to you. The heavier load it carries. Like if I had a 12 by 35, that means it has it's a stronger beam. And usually the flange size changes to adjust to that. But I'm going to place this W12 between this. So you place them between columns, right? Columns support the beam, right? Galen was going, yeah, this is my act. So I'm going to actually place this at the second floor. And so that is, and then I'm going to just go here. You're not going to see it. You're going to see a little line go here, and I'm going to go from here to here. And Revit will have this yellow warning here, which means that you place something, but you can't see it in this view. But if I go to the, I'm not going to save this for yet. If I go to 3D view, let me go to this 3D view. If I go to my structural 3D view, here's my structural beam. Now I have a slab here. All right, so that's how you place the I-beam. This actually, I placed it at the level. So I actually placed this at level 2. If there's a slight offset, for example, which there would be, let's say I'm using joists. Everybody know what I'm talking about when I say joist, steel joists with the webs in them, right? They have a seat on them, and they have like 2.5 inches typically. It depends on the manufacturer, but the standard has been 2.5 inches for some time. So, in order for a joist to fit on top of a beam like this beam has to be down 2.5 inches. So right here it says start level offset. I'm going to say minus 2.5 inches. All right, watch it drop. That end drops. Of course, you're going to do both ends unless the Pee Wee Herman principles applies, and you mean to have it slope like that. And so that one's down like that. And you can actually pull these into the column. For the most part, yeah. Yeah, they can get welded, but bolting is typically the floor is a steel metal deck. It's like who's this is this the first time anybody hearing this? Because one of the things about whether you had building construction or not. All right, so so what I probably need to do is change the floor to be more honest, right? So this floor needs to really be this 3-inch lightweight concrete on 2-inch metal deck. So what you have, not a duck, deck. So what you got is you got a corrugated metal deck, you've seen them, and you have concrete poured on top of it. Okay, so if you pick that, changes, you don't really see a difference here. I don't think Revit really shows you the difference unless I cut a section to it. Let's see if we cut a section to it. Oh man. That's this beam right here, right? By the way, structure always shows as a bold line in coarse and medium. When you turn fine, you actually see the thickness of it. It just shows you the line, actually. I don't see the beam, though. Where's the beam at? There's the beam right here, which is still too high. This is in section. Yeah, I was looking through trying to look through the pipe column, right? So I picked the wrong bay. So wrong view. It look like something like this. Actually, I didn't count for the slab of the slab thickness when I dropped to 2.5 inches. So I really need to add three more inches to it. Right? Everybody understand what I'm saying? So the slab is actually the level 2. So that's 3 plus the 2.5. So that's 5. And I actually have to drop down 5. So it still doesn't look. How thick is this? It says 3 inches. Oh, all right, it's 5 inches. Typically, it's 5 inches. Typically, it is including the deck. Somebody was looking at a floor. Were you looking at a floor assembly, or a deck or floor or something? Never mind. I'm just all right. So actually, it's 8 inches. Sorry, I'm flaking here in this case. So that's like, so you have a little space there. Right. The floor deck is 5 inches, and then 2.5 inches. Why did I get 8? No, this is 5 inches. 3 plus 2 is 5, right? Plus the 2.5 for the joist. So now that I'm committed to showing you this, I have to show you how the joist works, right? Right? Um, Notice I can't see this on my second floor plan. I'd like to see the framing. So if I'm gonna, I can go here and create a view that's a structural view. There's some roof framing plans that are already here. They just may not show what I need to show. Um, Unlike a floor plan, this view, this is cutting at 4 feet, right? 4 feet above the floor, because this is like a floor plan. So I might want to change the view range, actually. And the other thing you'll see here is the discipline here. Structural. Nah, I'll bring that back. UZ structural framing has a little bit more of a range. I don't know why I'm cutting at 20 feet. Okay, for now, I think I'm just going to hide the floor. It's still our, let's see. View template. I'm trying to get this to look like a structural plan. So I hadn't planned on doing this. Let's see what we got here. Okay, how's that? Okay, I just loaded I have a framing plan. Good thing I moved my view template over. So I just applied the view template to this, and so now I can actually see the framing. So here's the top of the beam. So I could either copy this beam or create another beam. So I'm gonna create another column over here and another beam over here. Actually, yeah, this is what bothers me about grouping these. So I usually ungroup them, but so beam. Let's say this beam's a slightly larger beam, so I'm gonna load a larger beam. So if I go to structural framing and I go to steel and I look for a WY flange, WY, this one. If I open it, it'll give me a chart. Um, you don't have to worry about the sizes. Typically, the rule of thumb is in inches is the maximum a beam can span, right? So if I pick something on so this makes this one light because this is 20 feet. Yeah, so most of my beams are going to be at least 1'8" or something like that. So I'm going to pick. These are big. Some of these. See the weights? They're big. The bigger, the more the weight, the heavier load they're going to carry. Oh, these are big. Some of these are really big. Yeah, that's a pretty big weight. That's per linear foot. So, two guys are not going to pick that up and move it around. so, so I'll just, for argument's sake, I'm just going to pick this. I'm pick the 18 by 35. And I'm going to start at the second floor. And if I want to make life easier for me, I put a reference plane here called reference level. See this right here? I can put a reference plane there that says beam elevation, and that would be that automatically that 8 inches below. So here I'm still going to offset this. So I'm going to go ahead and just place it. So from one column to the other column. And it's a big baby. All right. And so I'm going to pick it and we're going to drop it 8 inches. We got a class of structural engineers now. All right, so let me pick the smaller one and we'll do this one. So in between your columns, you'll have beams. That'll be -8. Because it has to drop below the slab, it has to drop below the slab, and it has to provide spacing for the joist, which hopefully I'll be able to show you in a second here. 8 inches. So you have to do both ends, so you could have a sloping beam. All right, so if I look at this in 3D, this looks like this, right? I hide this pup. All right, so it looks like this. All right. So what I'm gonna do is run. I'm gonna run. Actually, I'm gonna run joist. So this one actually might be a joist. Might not be a. It might not be a beam. It might be a joist. Or if it's a beam, it may not drop down the 8 inches. It may be up at the top because it's actually sporting something. But most likely it'll be a joist. Okay, so if I'm going to the second floor framing, oops, wrong view. Which one was it? This one. All right. So if I wanted to just do the whole bay, there's a thing called beam system right here. So I say beam system. And beam system is one type, and it gives you the pretty much the parameters and the specifications on what the rule is for your spacing of your joists or beams. We're going to space these joists at 24 inches on center. So I'm going to actually duplicate this. So I have two, in case you have more than one uh, beam size or whatever. And I'm going to go down to beam size here and beam type rather. Uh, so I don't have a joist, so I'm gonna have to load the joist here. So I think what I'll do is I'll actually draw this first. So I could either pick supports, which will be this, and I think it has to be a closed loop. Sketch mode again, has to be a closed loop. So I would do each per bay. This one's going to be a little odd. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and close it. But what I got to do is I got to go, whoops, it's got to be, can't have a little extension there. Makes sense. Oops, goofed there again. So I say finish. And so what it did is it actually placed beams for me. See that? And even labeled it. It's actually a different direction. There's two parts to this. While I'm showing you this, there's two parts to this. There's the actual member and there's the system. And this one's always the hard thing to do is to pick the system. So I picked the system right here. That's this invisible kind of green dash line. And I'm going to actually edit the boundary, and I'm going to change the direction of my span. It says beam direction, and I'm going to touch this right here, and the beams are going to go this way now. And they're at 6 feet, but I'm not done yet, so they're like that. All right, and they're at the floor level, so I don't want that. So I'm going to actually now go back and load the family. So I'm going to load a beam, and I'm going to say load, and I'm going to go down to structural framing. You guys bored yet? Steel, and then I'm going to pick a joist type. Without getting a real long conversation, I'm going to pick a K-bar joist like this. These joists have specific spans they make. If you notice, there's like K-bar joist, there's K-bar joist rod. Some are made with angles, some made with rods. Some are have longer spans than others. Without getting into that, you can Google that if you want to know more about that, or find a building construction book. But K, I'm going to pick a K bar right here. Actually, I'm going to pick an angle. I like angles better. Maybe too long of a span. And so I'm going to pick one here. I'm going to pick, these are the first number is the depth of the joist. So these are pretty shallow joist. So their span's not going to be all that great. So I'm going to pick a 10. I'm actually pick multiple ones. I'm going to pick a 10, 12, and a 14. And I'm going to say OK. And Revit knows some things that I don't know about what these can span. So when I pick the system, I can't get to the system here. I may have hidden it. So if I go to beam system right here, see that? So if I go to beam system and I go down to beam type, those joists should be listed. So I'm going to pick a 10 kW K1, and I'm going to space them at 2 feet on center. And Revit will spin a little bit, and there are my joists. And I'm still above my beam. So I'm still offset because I'm still at the floor level. So if that's what's going to support your floor, yes sir. If I come back here, I am going to drop it somewhat. Elevation, I'm going to drop through the -5 inches. I think it's 5.5 inches. Oh, you didn't like that. Shame. So if I, not to sound like Doc Brown, if my calculations are correct, it's sitting on top of the steel. It's pretty close though, isn't it? What do you think? So that's how you create a structural bay. Other things like columns. I may want this to go up two floors, but the other thing is I can also drop it down somewhat if I want to. And you could do more than one at a time. I just did one. I really should have just did the second one. Once you've done it and you copy them around, they keep that parameter. That one didn't come down, huh? So that's what do you think? Ben's clapping and sneezing. You know. All right, so that's kind of it. And if you want to put a footing on these typically have a footing on underneath. You say isolated footing, and this is way too big for the type construction. So I'm looking at here. This is a pile cap actually, which is not even a footing. So I'm gonna go here and say load structural foundations, and these are all here. I'm gonna pick this footing. All right, these are all pile caps. Everybody know what a pile cap is? Yeah, yeah. You know what a pile cap is? Yeah, yeah. So actually, I saw something on 60 Minutes. I'm gonna have to look it back up. Some building in New York, high rise. They didn't go down deep enough, and the building's actually moving. It's a high rise. We're talking about I think a 45-story building. Yeah, and there's, everybody's pointing fingers. We're talking about a lot of money here. So, all right. So this is the footing, and the default is 72. There's two of them in here. One's 72 inches by 48. We don't need anything near that big. Okay. So all you do is go here, edit, just like anything else, duplicate it. We're gonna make it 3 feet by 3 feet. We'd at least start there, right? By 1 foot deep. Okay, and then of course we change that foundation thickness is 0. This is 3 feet. Length is 3 feet. And okay, and guess what? Oh, all you're supposed to be able to have to do is touch the column. Let's see. Let's try this. I'm doing this in 3D. Um, Walls, all you have to do is touch the wall, but it's not looking like it's recognizing the. So if you do that, and you don't want this at level 2, you want this at top of footing or bottom of footing, and you won't even see it. Uh, well, yeah, if you're further along your design, yeah. I mean, I'm introducing this to you because this is part of the tool and it's terrific. Most likely, you might do the wood. You might do wood framing. I I would do wood framing, but typically you hire a structural engineer and but you will need to have a structural grid. Be thinking about that. Be thinking about where your columns are because that affects your layout, and it also kind of affects the general design, how you want things to look, right? So you need to have control over that. You need to have some facility for that. So, um, but that's a structural grid, and I missed, didn't I? Or it's actually deeper than I. It's right on top. So there's something in between here and there. um, What I didn't do. Okay. What I didn't do is change the level of the datums. So if actually I said bottom of footing, it really should be top of footing. Okay, so these need to be further up. And sometimes structures don't go typically through the floor. If you're talking about slab on grade, they just hit the grade. I mean hit the slab and the structures below that. There may be actually a concrete pier on top of this. Yeah, it varies. Questions? I went further than I wanted to go on this today, anyway, but that's good because I was going to go this far on it at some point. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, so this is how you do structural frame, and it's really good. It makes your model look good. So everybody's gonna have structural. They're gonna have something in there, right? Back in the day, I think my brother when he was in college, they actually had a winter break, and he'd come back, and then they take finals. Yeah, but that was he's ancient. All right. So, any questions about the structural? I can get to the walls, advanced wall, because I just want to go around and see what you guys are working on now. All right.